I think Judge Uberman mostly is in District 5. Can you verify that, Judge? Where's Judge Uberman's court?
We are working to come and see you. We'll bring that information when we do.
And I'll let
if that's
the chairman know.
Because that court that we're talking about, the name changes. Thank you.
It's over there. It represents my district. You know.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Wiley contacted me this morning. He's home quite sick, and he has no voice,
Well-
and so he said Tim could ably represent the
I
assessor's
went through that
office today.
myself last month, so thank you for that. Presentation regarding the 2021 budget, Maricopa County Assessor's Office. Mr. Bonkowski, nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh,
Members.
down to one slide.
We're down to one slide. It should be quick. Just one topic, actually. So our first item is to suggest that we continue with the pay for performance. We've seen, not only for the entire office, but for appraisers, our numbers go down in the last couple of years because we've continued to fund that pay for performance. Our increases are across the board, to your point earlier, Supervisor Chukri. So we think that's a great program. We'd also like to thank you for your funding of the assessors, clerks, deeds processors in the month of December. Our only issue there is to keep up with market trends now, because we now have the clerk series making a little bit more than the entry-level appraiser series. So I'm sure we will work closely with county HR to address that. So thank you for that funding. Now, the one topic is the Mars project. We have gone ad nauseum into that over the course of the last month. Mr. Chairman, former Chairman Gates knows this inside and out, so I could just defer this presentation to him, okay? But I won't. So our CIP request is already, you've already funded that for the $26 million. We would be asking for next fiscal year's allotment of that, which is $2.25 million, to maintain the contract, our staff working on it, our vendors, and our consultants. So we went over that in detail in our informal session in December. Now, with the changes to the contract, we took $300,000 out of this year's funding. So with the contract reshuffling, we would need $263,000 for the maintenance when we go live in February to get us through the first year, if you will, of the maintenance after the go live. So that would be a new funding request of $263,000. We also have this computer project in the cloud. So we need, right now, the vendors paying for the cloud resources, and we would need $200,000 for those from go live to June 30th of 2021.
Now, would that be, it says 6 months.
Correct.
Is that an ongoing thing? With the new system, is that going to be ongoing for years hence?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So generally, we'll be working really closely with OET, as we have, which was recommended by the board, that we work closely. And I just wanted to show you, Mr. Wiley had us put together a red, yellow, green chart of our past, and he provided Chairman Gates a new reporting structure that we're working closely with Ed over at OET. So we'll be having a monthly report. So it just won't be our quarterly staff meeting, if you will. We'll have a red, yellow, green report, which you had sort of directed us to engage more. And we're working closely with how do we put together a really succinct executive steering committee, which could be a model then for other county projects. So we're excited about that. So, Mr. Chairman, Board, that's pretty much our request.
When we do a cloud services contract, who are we paying that to?
Would be either Amazon or Google.
Okay, not the present people that are doing
No.
the software.
No.
Okay.
And it could be a county-wide contract, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Yes, Supervisor Chukri?
These numbers all comport with our last meeting, right?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chukri, yes.
Okay. And this is more of a question that falls outside, but it's probably related to and you know this personally from some ideas I brought, it's really more of a question, it's not a criticism, and that is, in certain instances, it's happened to me personally, it's happened to some of my constituents where these valuations have gone kind of just skyrocketed from one year to the other, and usually you see a gradual increase, and sometimes the conditions don't warrant it. And the LPV, if I'm getting that correctly, I don't think that's supposed to go up more than 5%, but in some cases I've seen it go up 50, 80, 90%. Do you, Maricopa County is growing just busting at the seams. We understand that. These things will happen. I know it's not foolproof, but what I don't want is this is the first time in the past 12 months where I've had several constituents bring this to my attention. Hey, how can this go up so dramatically in 1 year? That's both the full cash value and the LPV. Is that something that Mars will fix, or does this just happen? And if you can't answer it, because I know it's not budget related, but I want to, it's happening more and more, and I want to try and make sure we get our arms around it, so we all five aren't starting to get calls, you're getting calls and saying, what's going on?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Chukri, our values for 2021 just got approved on Friday by the Department of Revenue, so full equalization. They do all 15 counties. So those 21 values that come out in February. There are, pockets, parts of the valley and the county grow faster, some shrink. That is on your full cash value. You do not pay any taxes on that full cash value. That becomes your ceiling. You pay all your taxes on your LPV. And by constitution, that should only go up 5% unless you made a change to your property. Mm-hmm. So if you added something or subtracted something, okay, we do have a recanvassing program that looks at about 100,000 residential properties a year, and we're going around the valley. We just completed the southeast valley. Now we're going into southern Phoenix, the Ahwatukee area. And then we will go the next year into North Phoenix, Peoria, Cave Creek, and Carefree. Okay. So those areas, if something had been developed on a particular property, an outbuilding built, a casita, a swimming pool, and that we didn't get the permit or didn't pick it up, then there would be a valuation increase, and then that would trigger a Rule B if the value of the previous year was greater than 15%. So hopefully that's not a rare case, but it's usually when the property owner changes their property do we then see a LPV increase greater than 5%. And that's the only way.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Supervisor Gates.
Tim, thanks for the presentation. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank you, Mr. Wiley, and everyone through, obviously goes without saying, unbelievably difficult 3 months, and putting together something like this that I think addresses exactly what the board asked for. And we're going to be your partner, we always have been, but sort of recommitment to that partner and having Ed in the mix. So I just want to thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Gates, thank you very much.
Yeah. Great comment, Bill. Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for being here. And I think with that covers the duties of the day. We'll have next budget presentations on Wednesday.
Yes.
So, do I need to have a motion? I can't even remember anymore.
You can.
We are adjourned. Thanks for everybody.